Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Elon Musk coming out against mass immigration, saying it'll kill a country. Of course, we know all of this, and Musk, I believe, has said statements like this in the past, but it is interesting to see him say it so directly. We're going to go ahead and play this, and then we're going to look at some of these protests. There's like a bunch of 70-year-old, 80-year-old people out at these protests. They all have horrible EDS, horrible TDS, and it's like people go out there, Republicans go out to document it, and it's just all old people, these old liberals that are psyoped under mainstream media. It's very, very bad. But let's see what Elon Musk says, and this is very important. We know, of course, mass immigration completely changes the fabric and the culture of whether it's a city, a state, or a country, and it is not a solution to the declining birth rates, which is pretty much happening everywhere in virtually all first world countries throughout the world. The answer is not more immigration, because that destroys the fabric of your country, and what's the point of having a country? And that's what Musk says. It's more so through the destruction of feminism. That's how we get the birth rates up, because with feminism and where we're at with all these young girls in college, they're just manipulated, and unfortunately it's like this brain drain. When you go, at least politically, they all become ridiculously liberal. And that's why you see the huge drift between young men and young women, with the men a lot more conservative. I mean, in general, men are going to be more conservative. They act like it's this huge thing, like, oh, the young men are so conservative. No, that's just how it normally should be. I mean, obviously, there's been a change the past 10 or 12 years. I'm sure you guys have heard of the whole, well, now if you're younger, it's cool to be conservative. I think Joe Rogan is a good example of that, as someone that was, I mean, he's not young, but he's someone that's just a normal person. He talks to a lot of people, and he's just drifted more to the right because the left has gotten so deranged. In the West, I mean, the West in general is just getting more liberal. Look at how liberal Europe is, even the United States. If you listen to some of the things Bill Clinton said, especially about welfare in the 1990s, a lot of liberals nowadays would denounce him as part of their party, because the left has gotten more left and the right has gotten center right. And so now we're trying to reverse it. But this is how crazy it's gotten. Like, we even have to take this as a win, where it's Musk just saying, no, we can't have mass immigration. I mean, a lot of us are at the point to where we want the border shut down completely, because we have so many illegals in the country. We're not sure how many there are. People say there's like 20, 30, 40 million. So why would we have an open border? But honestly, I'm not sure that can be totally done in terms of completely shutting off immigration without a huge economic downturn. But you'll still take this, and let's see what Musk has to say here.
The mass immigration is insane, and will lead to the destruction of any country that allows unfettered mass immigration. That country will simply cease to exist. At the end of the day, it is a numbers game, a numbers situation. If there are 8 billion people in the world, and let's say you're a country of 50 million, 60 million, or for a medium-sized country, but even for a country like the United States, which is 350 million, given that there are 8 billion people in the world, it only takes a few percent of the rest of the world to move to the country to where it is no longer that country. A country is not its geography. A country is its people.
Right, and you do see this in certain areas of the United States with some of the people that get elected. I just heard a black liberal, who's talking about how we should rip up the Constitution and how terrible it is. I mean, there are people in this country, and even like Ilhan Omar, I mean, these people do not like the United States. They just don't like the country. They don't like our founding. They don't like our history. They don't like any of it. And so when you have people that hate the country in leadership positions, it's an example of the erosion of the society that we're in. And so what Musk is saying, listen, based on the population in the United States, 350 million, it doesn't take very much to destroy what's been going on. And we've been all gaslit into thinking that we need to allow these people to come into the country. And people are starting to push back against that and say, well, no, that is not the answer for the decline in birth rates. That makes it worse, because then you're not saving anything, because there's nothing to save. There's nothing left. There's no country. It's fundamentally changed. The country is the people. And so that's what Musk is really saying here when it comes to mass immigration. Now, you've also got, the H-1B stuff, and I came out against Musk on that, because that is blatant manipulation of that process and how they're able to get workers from India just based off of the working conditions in India. They all want to come and get visas and go to the United States. They'll do slave work in the U.S. To where they'll get like a 3-month temporary visa and then try and get it extended. And the companies, the corporations have mass control over these workers. They'd much rather hire one of them because an American is going to want proper worker rights and everything like that, and demand at a certain point a pay raise. So the H-1B stuff, it's kind of like double speak. But I mean, I think what Musk is saying, and originally they were trying to formulate the H-1B thing like, oh, it's the O-1 visa, but that's not what the H-1 is. Because Musk is like, well, we have to bring in ultra elite people. Well, all right, you want to be competitive, and that's where the whole thing comes in with, do we, with China and all that. But China's got a much bigger population than us anyways. Obviously, I don't want China to have huge influence above the United States, but they're not going to. They're just not. Even if we don't have to let in H-1B people to allow for us to keep that. But I do agree, like the ultra elite people, sure, but the H-1B is a little bit different. But I bring up the H-1B because it is kind of double speak from Musk when he's talking about the mass immigration. But I'm sure he's going to say, well, it's just those are elite people. We just can't allow in all these different people. And I agree generally with Musk. And I think Musk has taken some heat from people on the right who are not happy with what's transpired to where Musk becomes this Republican or conservative basically after Trump got shot in Butler. That's when he came out and endorsed Trump. We didn't even know. He was saying that he wasn't going to endorse anyone or give any money to anyone back in like March of 2024. So for him to do it that quickly and then get the role within the administration and the power, there's a lot of animosity against Trump within conservative circles. But let's also give Musk credit for freeing up speech on X. It's huge, and it's something that you cannot take away from what Musk and what he's done. And he really has. I know, some people say they got their check marks taken away, but there's some people on X now, and you're allowed to say a lot of different things. And we've seen with some of this racial stuff, you're allowed to say some stuff and you're not going to be banned. I know there's been some stuff with the check marks and it's not good, but general, it's way more free than it ever would have been under whoever was in with whether it was Dorsey or then he handed it off to someone else, the other CEO. And I mean, with liberals, what it is they don't have a real CEO, or it's like an Indian or someone that you can't even pronounce. They don't want to blame anyone, so they disperse the blame throughout. So if you get banned, you really can't blame anyone within Twitter because you don't know who's even leading Twitter, whose job it was. Because remember, it came out within Twitter, is all through the Twitter files and everything. Back in 2018, this was like the last total control they had over at the midterms. 97% of the money that was donated from Twitter employees, and this is all judgment calls in terms of who they're banning, it was donated to Democrat candidates, 97% of the money. So these are all liberals deciding who to ban. So now we don't have that. So you can say what you want about Musk, but whether, unfortunately, this is just where we're at in politics. Money will buy you power. And if Musk is going to put his money where his mouth is and spend $44 billion buying this and freeing up speech for a lot of people, he's done that. I understand there's been a few hangups here and there, but still, the speech has been freed up for a lot of people. And whether you want to say, well, he won Trump the election thing, it's a lot more complicated than that. There were a lot of Democrat problems. Musk, 250 million. Zuckerberg was at 400 million in 2020. If Democrats want to bring up numbers, the Democrats every single election cycle, whether it's midterm or just general presidential, they donate significantly more. It's not even close. That's why I'm shocked. Even these dumb CNN people are bringing up like, oh, but Musk is spending all this money on the Wisconsin Supreme Court election. Well, yeah, you want to know the crazy thing? That's even a local, like, off-year election. And that's with Musk, the richest man in the world, at least publicly. But they still outspent Musk. The Democrats did in that election. And you had people in Wisconsin saying they saw 5 Crawford ads for every Schimmel ad. So, I mean, you understand these type of things. And so with Musk, we like, I'll play this entire thing, but, he is correct. And we all know it. That's why we want the border shut down completely. But there's no mass immigration. That's not the fix. There's no way. That cannot be the fix. And it's like, this is a 2017 type argument, but it's just, yes, we're not going to have any mass immigration. We have the declining birth rates. It's a cultural problem that stems mainly from feminism. And so we understand that, and changing that, this is not a U.S. issue. This is a first world issue in terms of the declining birth rates. And it's multifaceted, and it also includes the dopamine issue we have now with getting satisfaction every second. You don't want to be put through the struggle of having a kid. You've got the dual income households. You've got the boss bitch who's a worker. You've got all of the student loan problems. You have just the housing issues. I mean, there's so much to it. So it's a multi-decade fix to this problem that we have in terms of the low birth rates. But the fix cannot be the immediate immigration. That's not the fix. That just, I mean, look at certain cities and how they become total cesspools because you've got so much at play and all these immigrants come into it and there's all this diversity and then all this crime. And then because liberals rule it because of how much diversity there is, it's just constant liberals in and out in terms of the mayor positions and even the local and city. It's a real mess. And then they're soft on crime because they don't want to be seen as racist. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse. Like the homeless problem in California, it's just a compound snowball that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then there's no stopping it. Like in California, there's no stopping the amount of homeless they have. It's already ballooned to be too much. You needed a strict conservative at a certain point when the California say, no, this is going to be nipped in the butt. And there's going to have to be tough decisions that are made, but we're grown adults. We were elected to do this. We have to clean the city up. They never did that under Democratic leadership. So let's just play this.
This is a fundamental concept that is truly obvious. I mean, if you took the people of Italy and you teleported the people of Italy to say some part of the United States, it would still be Italy. But if you teleported a bunch of people from some other part of the world to Italy, where they're telling people no longer because they've been teleported to America, then the region, the geographic region, would no longer be Italy. It would be that other country. A country is its people, not its geography.
Wow, Musk really liked that there at the end. He's getting a little energy, but no, Musk is right here. The people is what make the country, so let's not try and solve this birth rate problem with all this immigration. He's right on that. It's a multi-decade thing that needs to be tackled. We understand it, but it doesn't get solved through the quick fix of immigration, which erodes cultures and erodes cities and also raises crime. The houses are out of control. There's more demand for them. You bring in more people, and it's done inorganically too. It's not like you get these boom in these cities because all these immigrants come in. It's a complete mess. And then they don't adapt to, I mean, this is even the next level to where it's bad. And this is like the liberal guilt trip of, oh, if immigrants come in, you should let them do whatever they want. They don't have to assimilate. That's another word that gets thrown around a lot in terms of assimilating into American culture that many past presidents said, if we're going to have immigration, it's a must that they assimilate into what we believe. That's not happening anymore. And if you want that, if you demand for that, you're considered racist. Like, look at how left Europe has gotten ever since World War II. And now it's just turned into a complete cesspool in the EU. And they're trying to hit Elon Musk with a $1 billion fine for misinformation. It's kind of ironic now that we're talking about Musk, talking about the immigration problem after Europe has been ravaged by immigration from the Middle East and other places, even in Africa. It's a big issue. So Musk is right here. You know, we would want, and we need to understand all of the economic factors when it comes to all of this, but we would want a total shutdown. We would want to assess everything. Like, this is the thing with Trump, and I understand there has to be an investment. There does. We have to invest more money into how many illegals, because I'd like to get an actual count. How many illegals are in this country? Can we get an estimate? We knew there was never going to be one with Biden. They said, oh, it's 5 million. But then it's like, whoa, now we're reporting it's like 10, 15 million we've let in. But it's probably more than that because it's not just through the Biden administration. So it's like, can we get an actual count on these people? Could that be something that gets done? And then how is this fixed? How long does it take? How much money does there have to be in terms of investment? I mean, you're going to have this big budget with Trump, and he's trying to do all these tax cuts, and that's another thing that has to be spent on. So, I mean, there's a lot that goes on when it comes to balancing all of this, and they're trying to balance the budget. They've already got this $2 trillion deficit. You've got Musk trying to work at it. You've got Trump talking about revenue through the tariffs. So this is all happening, but it's a balancing act. It really is. But what Musk is saying here is, yes, the fabric of the country will be destroyed through mass immigration, too much of immigration. I know people say, well, he's a hypocrite because of the H-1Bs. I think Musk was saying, and I don't agree with this. This is not how the H-1Bs are used, but he says it's elite talent that comes into the country. Well, no, that's the O-1 visa. And so there was like a hang up in terms of the different visas, and the H-1B is like grunt work that an American citizen with a degree could do, but they just want to pay the immigrants less, or they'll work harder because they're fighting for a temporary visa and a temporary stay in the United States. And that's the big problem that we're dealing with. And unfortunately, Trump also liked that visa because as a billionaire, it's easier to get those people to do the grunt work than it is an American citizen who will demand a certain type of worker right to do different tasks. So that was kind of the hang up with the H-1B visas. And I know there's been some things with Musk taking people's check marks. That's not good. But still, even with all of that, there's a lot more freedom on X than there was. And we know when the left was they were in control of all the social medias. They still have Google with YouTube. They've got Facebook, but now apparently I don't know what's going on with Facebook. I don't go on it, but Zuckerberg has said, well, we're going to allow Facebook to be more free. And then you've also got Instagram. And there's some weird stuff on Instagram as well. And you've also got TikTok. We'll see what happens there. There's a lot of pro-Palestinian stuff on TikTok. They didn't like it. Now it looks like Oracle is trying to buy TikTok. We'll see what happens. But the point of it is, at least we have a platform that's at least semi-free. I know Rumble as well. I'm not on Rumble, but Rumble is free speech. It's more become just like a conservative echo chamber because people that get banned, they have to go to Rumble. I understand it. I get it. So what happens, we'll see what happens, but this is a good development from Musk to come out and say, well, no, I'm going to explain mass immigration destroys a country. If you take a bunch of people from Italy and put them in a certain area in the United States, it's not, unless they assimilate to American culture. But even if they do, it's still not good. But even if they assimilate, it's still Italy. It's still the same cultural feelings as if they were in Italy. So it's like this constant thing to where the left is like, we have to replace this declining birthright, and women shouldn't have kids anymore, and it's too much money, and let's just get all the third worlders to come in and do all the work. And that's what it is. Why do you think they've been saying, well, who's gonna pick your strawberries and things like that? That's a common thing that they'll say in terms of us deporting illegal immigrants. It's like, well, if we're a functioning society and we have all this money, shouldn't we be able to figure that out without having to use illegal immigrant labor? Shouldn't that be something that's figured out by our government? To be able to properly pick strawberries and pay an American worker, a decent wage to do it without having crazy prices? Like, these are issues that should be able to be fixed pretty easily. But it is what it is. And honestly, that's kind of in relation to the tariffs, where it's like us producing our own stuff. But either way, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.